Yeah, good. Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Nick. Thank you for accepting my invitation and accepting to be on my show.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So I've gone through your profile and I came to know that your company and which is in US.
Yes, yep, we're based in Salt Lake City, Utah, in the United States.
So I wanted to tell about your company and the services that you provide to my audience and to the world who is listening to me and who is watching me through all the social mediums.
Okay, great. So yeah, Monnit Corporation was started back in 2009 as a venture from my business partner who had an idea to create an end-to-end wireless solution with a focus on small to medium-sized businesses. Is Internet of Things company, and what we were seeing at the time was not a lot of companies that created a wide range offering to markets. It was more vertically focused. So you couldn't, you could find wireless sensors out there, but maybe it was a solution that was focused solely for power monitoring, or maybe it was a solution that was focused purely for, watching vibrations on a piece of equipment. But what Brad didn't see was, a low-cost solution that operated on batteries for a long period of time, that could be, that had great range inside of a building, that could be deployed in almost any market. And so he started some R&D with our VP of engineering here back in 2009. Late 2009, felt like the business had an opportunity or a chance to grow. And so he invited me over, as well as a couple of other people, to get the business up and running. And so we officially launched the company in February of 2010. And by the mid-summer of 2010, we started shipping our first products. As I mentioned, we're headquartered here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Most of our employees are here. We do have a sales office in France. And then we have a partnership with a company, a joint venture, if you will, in Korea, which is basically Monnit Korea, where they handle a lot of our Asia Pacific business when it's focused on building and residential and commercial type buildings. We've been at this now. I mean, when we started the business, we had a small little USB wireless gateway that plugged into a PC and 8 sensors that ran on, we did temperature sensing, humidity sensing, things like that. And they ran on a little coin cell battery, much like you would find in your in a watch, a CR2032, for example. And it got decent battery life. We could get 2 to 3 years out of the sensors. And from there, we started selling our products online. Nobody knew about us. Nobody heard about us. Brad and myself, we'd had previous successful ventures where we had sold those businesses. So pretty confident that we were headed down the right, the right alley for this. And so let's just fast forward to where we're at today here in 2021. Time goes by fast. Now we have over 80 different sensor types. We are in all sorts of different markets. We still address the small, medium-sized business customers. So it could be, a little convenience store or grocery store that has one outlet, all the way up to large enterprise customers like AT&T and others globally. So Monnit is a global company. We sell products that, because we're wireless, we have to adhere to a lot of different types of regulations when it comes to wireless communications, much like your cell phone operators do. There's a certain band of frequencies that we have to operate within. And so we have to make sure that we're legal to operate globally. But last year we sold into over 83 different countries. And the company's in a growth state right now. So it's a very exciting time to be in the Internet of Things.
So what is What is world before and after Monnit sensors?
Say that one more time.
What is the world before and after your company?
Well, before Monnit, you mean what was it like before Monnit, and what's it like after Monnit? Is that what you're asking? Okay. Before Monnit, as I mentioned, there were very vertical solutions. So I could go out and I could find a wireless sensing solution whose sole purpose was to monitor temperatures in a vending machine, for example, or to count change that came into a vending machine. And that information would be collected locally there and then transmitted through a wireless radio link back to their headquarters, for example. And then they could know if, for example, if somebody needed to go out to a vending machine and refill it, they knew what items they needed to take with them, and they knew how much change they needed to have with them if they were still doing change and not the swiping of the card. You could find very vertical solutions like that. With what Monnit pioneered, I mean, kind of where we really shine, and now you see a lot of companies trying to do exactly what we did, is that we made a solution that could do not only the vending machine application like I just mentioned, but it also can do 40 different other types of applications. We're in everything from monitoring cranberry bogs, which I don't know if that's something you have in India, but we do a lot of cranberry bog monitoring. We monitor the temperatures within the largest what would you call it? Just basically a trash collection point in the United States that's in Wyoming. We monitor the temperatures using our temp sensors. We're used in research facilities where they're using the sensors to monitor zebrafish. I mean, that's an application that we put on our website because they're studying the fine hairs on zebrafish mimic the hairs within the human ear and how it transfers sound to the inner ear. So it's amazing where our sensors get deployed. We're used a lot for COVID vaccine manufacturers right now. So that's very relevant to what we're all dealing with right now. And grocery stores, convenience stores, restaurants, quick serve restaurants, mobile applications where we're monitoring, over the road trucking, just everything that you could possibly think of, our sensors have been deployed in. So I think that's where we really differentiated ourselves at the beginning. And now we see a lot of competitors out there that are trying to mimic what we do. And I think they're finding that that's pretty difficult because we are, even though we're a technology company, we are classified as a manufacturer, and we have to make everything that we design and develop. So, that's a lot of companies, they'll go out and contract manufacture everything. Monnit, we make everything ourselves. Everything is manufactured here in the United States. And that gives us also a little bit of a competitive advantage over some of our competitors who make things overseas.
So, as a person who did masters in software engineering and who did graduation in computer science and engineering, so I understand the infrastructure and understand the quality, the importance of the quality of the product. So, tell me about it, the product quality in Monnit sensors.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time from our side in developing not only new technology, but then also hardening the technology that we've already released. And the quality that we have to adhere to has ISO standards. So, for example, on the manufacturing side, we're ISO 9000 2015 certified at our two contract manufacturers here in the States. Then there are different types of certifications or quality measurements we have to adhere to ourselves, where things such as LEED certification. There's all sorts of different hazardous materials, quality levels that we have to maintain, and so we have engineers that's their primary job, is just to spend time making sure we're compliant with all these different regulations and certifications. And particularly when we deploy within, for example, within the food manufacturing world, there are, I shouldn't say manufacturing, I guess I should say more like the quick serve restaurants and restaurants. There's different programs that they need to be able to use technology that meets their program levels that have been defined by the industry itself. For example, in the food world, they have what's called HACCP, which I off the top of my head, I don't remember what the acronym stands for, but it's basically a food preparation, cooking, preparation, and storing program, which your sensors that are deployed in that level have to meet a minimum requirement to be used in that type of a program to say you're a HACCP certified customer supplier. And when monitoring things like medications, one of the big things here in the United States, and I know that there's equivalencies overseas, is 21 CFR Part 11, which means that your sensors are, meet the requirements that the government in the United States has said, hey, in order to do this, you need to be able to meet these minimum requirements. And then you probably are familiar with this one more than some of the others I spoke about, is NIST certification, National Institute of Scientific and Testing, something like that. NIST certifications say, typically those are done by third-party certifiers. So we send anybody that wants to order products from ours. All of our technology is tested to a NIST golden unit that we have here in the company for each of our sensors. And we know that that's a good unit, and we have to test everything we ship out of here to that level. If it doesn't meet that level, it either goes back into rework or it doesn't get used at all. The NIST certifications, we provide our customers on some sensors, not all of our sensors, a third-party NIST certification that they pay for, where we send the product out to these laboratories. They verify everything works as we say it's going to work, and they'll certify that for them. And that's really important actually for all the COVID vaccine manufacturing right now.
So you create products based on the user's requirement, or you just create products that you want to sell?
Very good question. Very good question. When we first started out, we didn't know what people needed. We knew what the most common sensors were because we could get that research. And the most common sensors that you could find in that would be used in a commercial type of environment would be temperature sensing. And temperature sensing really globally, at the component level or finished goods level, like what Monnit makes, accounts for about 50% of all sensors sold. Whether that's a high temp or a low temp, that it doesn't matter. It's temperature sensing is about 50% of all sensors sold globally. Then you had things like humidity, and you had things like a door open close or a motion sensor or something like that. So we knew that that's where we needed to start, and we had 8 different ones identified that we were going to start selling. Over the years, what has happened as the company has grown, our customers have come to us and said, hey, you've got like 80% of what we're looking for. We need these 4 sensors from you, but this 5th one, we need to be able to monitor. Let's just take, for example, a light meter. We need to be able to monitor light in this fashion. We don't need light on and off. We need to know what the light intensity is over the course of the day, because that really affects how our crops grow. And so what we do is, the customers are gravitated towards what we have already built, and then they come to us and say, hey, we're interested in this. And we go through a process of discovery with them, understanding, okay, first off, is this a technology that we could see other customers wanting? If that's the case, yes. Okay, great. Second thing is there any volume associated with it? We don't make one-off products that have very low volume. If there's no volume associated with anything, we won't do it. And the third thing is it interesting for us to work on? Because through a lot of these customers that we're dealing with, particularly the new ones, that we're entering industries that we don't have expertise in internally. And so for us is expanding our market breadth, our market reach by working on this technology. And if they agree to that, if it does meet all these criteria, we'll go ahead and put together a development agreement with them, and we'll proceed with the development of a new sensor.
So, what is the best-selling product of your company, and also why it is top in the list?
Temperature monitoring is by far our largest our largest seller. We have multiple sensors in the temperature arena. We have thermocouples. We have high temperature sensors that go up to like 357 C. We have low temp sensors that go down to negative 200 C. We have non-leaded temp sensors, which can be used in a building environment, just to give you an office temperature, for example. We have leaded temperatures, which can be inserted into things like a thermal well within a boiler. And then, almost every variation you could possibly think of. So temperature are probably our top seller.
So it has been 10 plus years.
Yes, it has. It's been in November. I think in February of next year, we're going to be going on 12 years.
So what do you think that worked for Monnit sensors to reach 80 plus countries and to make these many sales?
What has led to that?
What worked?
What would? I think the reason that we're seeing the growth that we're seeing globally is, we were kind of early to the Internet of Things space, which we were very fortunate because that gave us time to get the foundation in place that we needed in order to be able to be in a place where we could grow as IoT developed. When we first started this thing, IoT was not even a term. Internet of Things didn't even exist back then. When we started in 2010, it was called machine-to-machine communications. M2M is what it was, which actually is not a very kind of boring, actually. Machine to machine, great. It's an important aspect, because if you think about how many machines there are versus people on the face of the earth, the machinery outnumber us 4 or 5 times to 1. So there's a lot of opportunity in that space. At some point, some smart marketing person, and I don't know who was attributed to this, came up with the term Internet of Things, IoT. And once that took place, we really started to see some interesting growth, because now that kind of encompassed everything. Now, there are a lot of companies out there that say, hey, we're IoT. We would disagree with them that they're IoT, but it's fine. It's how you define it yourselves. And there's a lot of companies out. I mean, Apple's an IoT because they provide a watch connected to your cell phone, and that watch not only gives you email and your phones and everything else, but it can monitor biometrics of the body, right? And that's certainly IoT. Where Monnit, we spend time in the commercial space. We don't focus on the end user, and the education process over the last, I think 7-8 years, where people starting to understand what IoT is, and hey, that anything is almost possible. That's really, I think, pushed the growth of the company forward, and really the industry itself. I mean, if you look at what analysts say about IoT today, they say it's a $2 trillion marketplace, and continuing to grow as new inventive things come out. So there's a huge potential, not only for Monnit, but for other companies that are in this space.
So how good Monnit sensors are communicating with the users?
How good are they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so let me explain to you kind of how the system works. So you have your wireless sensors, and the sensors, again, they do temperature, they'll do vibration monitoring, they'll do pressure, things like that. And they use a wireless link that is, depending on what place you are in the world, whether you're in the northern hemisphere, or sorry, the Americas, Europe, Middle East, or Africa, or Asia Pacific. China is kind of off on its own. They do their own frequency, and there's some smaller countries like Korea has their own unique frequency as well. But for the most part, Asia Pacific is 433 megahertz. And so, the way it works is it uses that proprietary RF link from the sensor back to a gateway. And the gateway, kind of think of it as a hub. The gateway can talk to up to 100 different sensors from anywhere in a building, for example. In a building environment, you can get 400 meters non-line of sight, or 1,200 feet non-line of sight. And that's usually transmitting before 12 to 14 walls, depending on what the construction's made of. And then that data gets aggregated from the gateway all the way up to, we have a cloud-based application that users can access on their phones or a tablet or even on their PC if that's what they're wanting to do. And it allows them to check in on their system, see what's going on. It allows them to also set up notifications based on certain parameters being met. For example, if you're monitoring COVID vaccines, you need to be somewhere between -90 and -100. Actually, it's right around -90°C to be able to keep that at the proper temperature. And if the temperature gets outside of that range by like 2.5 degrees, they consider it questionable. And so they want to be notified if that temperature deviates anywhere within 1 to 1.5 degrees, that it's getting too warm. They need to get a notification so they can go check on the refrigeration unit. Maybe somebody left a door open. Maybe there's an issue with the compressor. I mean, who knows? It just kind of depends on what the issues are. So we allow people to very easily get the data from the sensors, be able to quickly look at it on their cell phone through an app that they download, and then be able to interact with what's going on within their facility or with their equipment or whatever, crops, whatever it might be. One of the areas where we really kind of have taken a different turn than what some of our competition does is we also allow users to hijack the data off the gateway and push it into their own cloud if they have a cloud that they prefer. So, and we do that with a lot of enterprise customers. A lot of times they'll have analytics platforms that they need to be able to push the data into. And rather than going directly to the Monnit cloud, we allow them to bypass that, going directly from our gateway and push that data into their cloud. There's a one-time cost to be able to do that, as well as a per gateway fee, additional per gateway fee of $50. But for many of them, that's the perfect solution. It allows them to get exactly what they're looking for, and that's where really what we try to do is we try to be somewhat flexible in our business model to enable large and small customers to be able to engage with us.
So tell me about the top user in the world, because you sell in about 80 countries. So I mean, you don't need to name, but you can tell.
I won't name names, but we work with a lot of multinational companies. I can probably say that right still today, most of our sales come from the Americas, with Europe following that up pretty closely, and then Asia Pacific third, if you will. As far as specific customers go, that varies really kind of depending on the year and what it is and what verticals they're serving. Sometimes we have customers that they have massive projects, they just need to get it done, and then we're done with them. Others where they're buying every year, they need more product as they expand. So I won't name specific applications, and I won't name specific customers, but kind of gives you an idea of we work in a lot of different areas.
So you are a product based at the same time service based company.
We are a products, well, yeah, much to our software team's chagrin, we are a hardware company first right now. And the software we design, we've kind of built our own box, which is a little bit hard for us to get out of. Most of our sales are comprised of our hardware, obviously, and then we have our software applications, which make up the rest of our sales. We are classified first as a hardware company, software being supported second. We're trying to change our business model so that we're more 50-50 balanced, 50% hardware, 50% software. But because we serve so many different markets, it's really tough. A lot of our software, a lot of our customers, they're wanting to do very specific types of monitoring, and they might not be able to get all the features or reports or what have you, in our software application. So a lot of times what they'll do is they'll use our stuff to get up and become familiar with the products, see what they can do. Does it meet their requirements? Okay, yes, great. Sometimes they'll engage with us on the software side because they might need to just tweak some things. Other times they might say, hey, this is going to work for us, but we've got to push our data into this cloud platform, which their whole, they spend all their time focusing on trucking, right? Monitoring trucking. Let's just, I don't know, just for lack of an example, trucking. And we're, so we become just basically a hardware supplier to them, and then they use a software application either that they developed or it's a third-party application, because that really meets their reporting needs for the software side.
So you mentioned you later started understanding the user's experience when you started giving what they want. So what are the benefits and the advantages of buying and taking and using Monnit sensors products?
Yeah, I think the biggest advantage to the users are they get an basically off-the-shelf solution. We have everything that they could possibly need to get started with. They've got the sensors, they've got the gateway, they've got the software. They have global reach through our use of global frequencies. They have a very competitive price point with Monnit, and they don't have to go build their own. I know that a lot of companies are enamored with the cheap sensors from China, and there is a market for that. But in the types of things that we're doing, where you do have to you have to meet regulations, you have certifications that you have to maintain. That's a lot of work for a business to take that on themselves if they're developing their own solution using some Chinese technology. And so where I think we bring, besides the breadth of sensors that we have, the different ways to get the data into software platforms, the different ways to present that data, and the fact that we guarantee compliance globally with different government regulations, different industry regulations, things like that. We take all of that on ourselves. And so it really, a lot of times people think, oh yeah, well, I can do that with a $5 Chinese sensor. Yes, you can. But you got to now also support it. You've got to build it. You've got to do everything that Monnit does for you. And I think we charge a very fair price for it.
So tell me about the team of Monnit sensors.
The theme?
Your team, the people who
work. The team. Okay. Yeah. We have salespeople. So in the States, we have our sales team. We have all of our engineers are here, our hardware and our software teams. We have our support team here. We have obviously the operations team is here. The majority of our folks are located here in Utah. It's kind of interesting from a perspective here. Most of the company is bilingual, For example, I speak German. A lot of because of our proximity to Latin America, we have a lot of individuals here that are non-Latins that speak Spanish. We have a lot of Latin Americans that work in our production facilities. And here within the company itself, we have the two contract manufacturers that build our electronics, and then we do programming of sensors. We kind of just finish the sensor technology here, and we ship from Utah globally. And so it's a highly educated workforce here in Utah. That's one of the advantages of being here. The state itself is very favorable to business, low corporate taxes, and so it's a great team. The culture here is kind of counter to a lot of what you see with technology companies. A lot of technology companies will offer you all sorts of cool little inducements to try to get you to stay at work all the time. If you go here in Utah, there's Adobe's got places here. You've got Domo, you've got Divi, you've got all the Facebook has a big facility here, and they do a lot of fun stuff for employees. But we kind of take a different approach to it. We have people here that have lives outside of work. We don't expect them to live at their offices, And so what we do is we're an 8 to 5 culture here, which is really blows a lot of people's minds. They're like, how do you get anything done when you're 8 to 5? Well, if everybody's in the office at the same time at 8 a.m. and everybody leaves at 5 o'clock, it's amazing how much you can get done in that time frame when we call it everybody's in the boat rowing at the same time, right? There's a lot of power in that methodology. And it's been interesting because we've had people that have been employed here and it's been a great work experience for them, and they go to other companies, and then we hear from them and say, man, it's really hard to get anything done because half the people I need to work with are not in the office. They're not here. I didn't show up to a meeting because he's out doing whatever. She was busy doing this, or there's advantages, and this isn't the work. Monnit's work culture is also not what a lot of folks are looking for. I know that there are folks that like that flexible kind of work schedule. That's fine. But our culture is one of accountability, responsibility, and we totally allow when people at 5 o'clock, our CEO basically sends out a Slack message to everybody saying, go home. We have families, we have things that we're interested in. There are people are continuing their education. And we think that's important. And we think it's actually detrimental to the worker to be in an office 80 hours a week.
That's awesome. So your company started with the hardware, then integrated the software. So
we actually started with both because we couldn't get the hardware to really work properly without the software. People would be like, I don't know how to use this.
So how good the compatibility?
How good's the compatibility?
Yeah.
Well, our hardware and our software work well together, and it was designed as this is going to be a misnomer, but it's kind of designed as a closed system, right? Our hardware doesn't work with anybody else's hardware. Our software won't really work for anybody else as a standalone operating system, as a standalone software application. Our hardware can be used with other software applications. And that's from a lot of independent software vendors that make their own software platforms that are looking for hardware to feed data into their platforms. We work well on that kind of an application. But for the most part, most of our customers are using our system as an end-to-end solution. And so compatibility with other systems is not something that we have to worry too much about.
So your software and your hardware is everywhere in every industry, like you said, and in every country.
Yeah.
So how you started from one industry, or other industries are also needing it, or are asking you to create this project, whether you can create a project which can help us in making things done.
Yeah, we can. When we started, we kind of figured there were, we targeted about 8 different vertical markets. In those markets, we felt that the solution that we had to start with met those needs pretty well. And then over time, we started getting, calls from companies that we really never thought would even talk to us. And they would say, hey, this is kind of cool what you're doing. Can we use this stuff for what we're doing? And we're like, well, what do you guys do? And we start talking to them and we're like, yeah, that would work. If we did this or we twisted things this way a little bit, that should work really well for what you're doing. And then that's kind of where, as I explained earlier, where a lot of them said, well, you've got most of what we need. Can we get you to develop this sensor for us? And, a lot of times it's a discovery process. So we went through with them and said, yeah, well, it might be something that we could possibly do for you. Early on, we said yes to everything because our goal was to get to, to have a lot of different sensor types available so that we kind of became the one-stop shop for everybody. And I think we've done a good job of doing that because, we have over 40,000 different customers that have purchased products from us. And I think that, that says a lot about how broad we have been able to approach sensor technology.
So what about pricing, and what about the time you take to develop a product?
We put all our pricing on the web so people can see that. One of the things we really hate as users of technology, this is one thing that we talked about early on was, do we display pricing or don't we display pricing? And we felt that it was important that customers could know up front. You can go to our website and you can see all the different prices that we charge for our products. It makes it a little challenging for our partners, like our system integrator partners and our OEMs. But we sell a lot of product direct. We also have our channel program that works really well. But we don't try to hide anything, and it's really frustrating for us when we as technology buyers and users, we try to get, we want to go talk to somebody about, go look online just to find out some information, and you have to either dig and go through third parties to find out what something might cost, or you have to contact them first to even get a look at a price. We think that that's a bit of an annoyance. So yeah, that's kind of how we handle our pricing. And I forgot the second part of your question.
The time and the cost.
The time, the development time, it can vary. If we're doing something brand new from scratch, it takes a lot of time to get that right because there's a lot of testing that has to take place. It's interesting. It's not so much the development that takes a lot of time. It is the testing, because the testing finds all the problems, and then it has to go back to engineering, and engineering has to redo it, and so forth. So, I think having a really good testing team that knows how to break stuff. But some things are really easy. A temperature sensor is not hard to develop. An advanced vibration meter that can measure vibrations at different frequencies on 3 different axes and trend that information over a specific time frame and blah blah blah. That's a lot more complicated and takes a lot more time to bring to market. So I'd say it varies, and for me to say, hey, it takes 6 months for us to release product, that'd be wrong, because it really depends on the product.
So what about the user experience?
The user experience is, I think it's very good from the get-go. What we do is we try to put everything that the customer is going to need in their first shipment. So that when they order the sensors, they don't have to go out and source mounting hardware. They don't have to go out and source batteries. They don't have to go get antennas. We provide all of that as part of the product itself. So the user should be able to, when they get the box, they have everything they need to get started with. They also have the instruction set that tells them how to create an account online, add all this hardware, this physical hardware stuff that they have, get it into the cloud so that then it becomes usable to them as a platform. The typical users, it takes them about 10 to 15 minutes to get up and running and start getting data from the system, which, it's good. It's good. It's because we have such a variety of different sensors, to get, you have to mount things differently. An advanced vibration sensor, mounts completely different than what a temperature sensor does for how you need to deploy the actual sensing element. And so, as far as the individual mounting, that can take some additional time. But really, most of our customers, the feedback that we get from them, the ones that want to give us feedback, they'll say, hey, yeah, it was really easy to get up and running. Now I got to get really, now I really need to start using the system. And that takes a little bit more time, but, I think our user interface is very good. It flows very well. It's very intuitive for the users. A lot of our customers are technology users. They're not technology experts. And so we have to design it very simple for them to quickly access the things that they're looking for, whether it's a schematic of a building that they've loaded and they've placed their sensors on that so that they know exactly where sensors were deployed. They've got to be able to quickly build and deploy reports to different people in the company. They got to be able to find issues very quickly based on the alerts. So I think it's, as a basic platform, it works really well. Where we need to improve ourselves is, a lot of times the vertical businesses that we're going into, they might have very specific needs on the software side. And that's where things get a little more challenging. But we do have APIs available that they can use to push data from our cloud to a third-party cloud. And that, for a lot of our customers that are using third-party clouds, that's actually a real easy way for them to get the data moving. But for those companies like ISVs that are standalone software platform companies, we have a different way for them to get data without touching Monnit. So I think in general, good. It's the customer experience and time to be getting data is really good.
And yeah, like you mentioned, the not every customer or every client of yours are technology experts.
Yeah.
So when it comes to software, the user interface, how you collect the functionalities, how you design according to their need and requirements.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's really, sometimes it's a little difficult where you have software engineers, that are really great at coding, but maybe not so good at UI or the user experience. And so our software team works in conjunction with our marketing team. In the marketing team, there's some guys on there that have user design experience that we use to help guide the software engineers in how to build the customer experience within the software. It's a constant improvement process. I wouldn't say we're 100% even now, even 12 years later. We're working closely with we're working closely with the software team all the time, weekly meetings with them to say, all right, here's some things that we need to improve on. How do we do that in the software? And we'll build the flow and then work with them to program it. And then we test it, obviously. And we probably do a release of our user interface about every 6 months, where we'll release new features, or, if there's any bug fixes. I mean, software has bugs in them. Bug fixes obviously get fixed immediately, but as we roll out new versions, it's about every 6 months to a year.
So at last, do you have anything to say to the world and who is watching and listening to this conversation from anywhere on this planet about the services that you're providing and about the products that you're developing?
Yeah, if you're a business owner, and we cater towards commercial and industrial enterprises, if you're a business owner and you're looking for, you have problems within your business that continually creep up, and you're just wondering, how can I address that? It might be something you could address with some wireless sensor technology. And Monnit has we have over 80 different sensor types available. We have a variety of gateways to get that data back, whether it's connected through your internet in your building or a cellular gateway that's going through your local cell carrier. We have the interface built for you already for the sensor data, so that you can visualize the data and be able to implement different processes. Maybe you need to implement a maintenance program within your facility to check on electric motors every once in a while. Monnit can help you with that. The technology we have is very easy to use. It's priced at a really good point. As we mentioned a number of times, we're a global company. We support business worldwide, and our customer support is really good. We're able to, even though we're here in Utah, we believe in responsiveness, and we will respond to you as quickly as we possibly can. So yeah, give us a shot. Let us help you out.
So you said you was the first company which was into IoT, Internet of Things.
We weren't the first company. That we were one of the first companies to create a broad offering. There were a lot of sensor companies out there already, but they were making vertically focused solutions. So we just took their vertical approach and we broadened it so everybody could use IoT.
So what is the unique thing that you have your competitors don't have?
Unique things that we have that our competitors don't have? Well, it used to be that we had a lot more sensors than they did. But there are competitors out there that are emulating our business and trying to do what we've done. I think one of our competitive advantages is we're so much further ahead than a lot of our competitors out there. We were doing this long before a lot of them were, and probably the biggest thing that this gets overlooked a lot by IoT companies. It is manufacturing. We've been manufacturing products either here or at our previous companies since 2000, and manufacturing is overlooked sometimes. People will create these really cool technologies. When we were starting out, we were looking at everything new that was coming out, and we could tell you who was going to succeed and who wouldn't based on the design of their products. Because some of them made these super cool, great housings, really awesome, but they didn't have a way to scale that. And if you go onto some of these incubator sites like Indiegogo and others, and you'll see really cool technologies, but a lot of times you'll see them also, the timelines for delivery keep getting pushed out. Customers become frustrated, supporters become frustrated, and that's because an engineer can make something that's really awesome if he only has to make one of them. Where it gets to be really tricky is make something really awesome that could be made millions of times, very cost effectively. Because I can make a really cool sensor that's going to cost $2,000, but what kind of market can I approach with a $2,000 sensor versus a $200 sensor? That does the same thing or most of what it needs to do. So there's a business process associated with it, but manufacturing is a huge advantage that Monnit has over a lot of the competition because we actually do it ourselves.
So I hope you continue providing the services and like you're doing from years. I hope you'll continue understanding the needs and the requirements of the users because they are the reason why the development is. So I hope you continue doing the great work.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you taking the time to meet with us.
So I'll put your, if you send me your links, your website and your social
Okay.
media links, I'll put in the description of this video. People who find the video on YouTube can see the products of yours and can see the services that you are providing.
Very good, Sai. We'll do that.
So at last, have you seen any videos of mine as a person who is into technology? What do you say about me and my work?
Well, I think it's really, it's obviously you're an entrepreneur, because a lot of people, it takes a special kind of person to take. I'm sure you have a day job, right? You're probably a software engineer during the day, and this is something you really like to do, and you do this in the evenings. And this isn't easy work. I mean, you're going to have to go through and you're going to have to edit this video and clean up the blemishes on my face, I'm sure. But no, you're an entrepreneur in your own right, in that you're doing something outside of what your day job is. And hopefully for you, this becomes something that, you can make money at, and this becomes your full-time gig, because what better way, to make money than to do something that you truly love. And it's obvious you love doing this because you've been doing it a lot. You're meeting with some very influential people. I saw that you met with the guy from Microsoft and some other you're getting into some really cool companies. And so congratulations on that. It's very impressive, but it takes a lot of ambition to be able to go and do that. So, well done.
Thank you, Nick, for giving me your valuable time and spending your valuable information of the company and also the how your company started and how well your company is growing.
Very good, Sai. I appreciate you taking the time and particularly out of your evening.
So can I put this video on my YouTube channel with your permission?
Absolutely.
And also, can I put this video and audio clip on my YouTube, my podcast, website, social media, internet, everywhere with your permission?
Absolutely. Yep.
So thank you, sir. Keep going, keep doing what you love.
Thanks, Sai. You too.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.